Hey guys, my name is Ella Livingston. I am the CEO and founder of Cocoa Asante, and I am a recovering burnout. I know, it happened to me too, right? Now, if y'all look at this title, do you guys know what this is referencing? Okay, thank God. Okay, I didn't know what crowd I was gonna walk into, but it references, well, it was a TikTok trend that came from a movie, but you see this old man and this little girl, and she's like shoveling, and oh my gosh, hey. Sorry, anyways. But no, so she says, I'm tired of this, Grandpa. And then he says, well, that's too damn bad. You keep digging. And every time I think about my experience with burnout, that is the meme that describes my experience. Every time I get tired and I feel like, wow, man, I know I'm resilient, but like, this is a bit too much. Maybe I should stop. It feels like life just says, that's too damn bad. You keep digging. And so I keep digging. So today, what I want us to do, I feel like, being at the end of the day, you guys have gotten a lot of great information from a lot of the other previous speakers. So before I even get into what I'm going to talk about, I'm curious to learn or hear what are some tangible tidbits that you guys have taken from some of the previous speakers today. Feel free to just raise your hand and I'll point. You can take 10 seconds to think or go for it, Chris. Self-care toolkit. What's in your self-care toolkit?
I still have to make it, but
That's real?
challenge me that I have to work on some internal stuff instead of external.
Heard. Internal instead of external. I love that. What else have y'all learned? Yes. Let go, amen, of unrealistic expectations. What else? Yes.
It's okay to grieve.
It's okay to
grieve.
It's okay to grieve. How powerful. How powerful. What else? Yes. We don't need more hustle. We need more wonder. I love that, especially as creatives. What else? Yes. Don't wait for permission to help. And then what was the last thing you said? Just go ahead and do it. I love this. I feel like I've been here all day. One last person. What else have you guys learned? Yes.
Resilience is a verb. It's not something you're born with.
Ooh, girl. Okay, let me just stop there. Let me just get off the stage. You're done. Resilience is a verb. It's not something you're born with. I love that. Thank you guys for those who shared the tidbits that you have learned. So my objective for today, number one, recognize burnout and to be able to address it in tangible steps. But also, I want to be able to share my story, and hopefully you leave this space inspired and see what life looks like on the other side of burnout. All right, so meet burnout number one. I say, honestly, I should have put number two because number one is my mom, but no shade. But yes, I am a recovering burnout. And so today, like I said, I'm gonna share my story with y'all. Now, you guys have y'all already defined burnout? No, okay, I thought y'all would have already done, okay, great, that's great. So we're gonna define it not in terms of the dictionary definition, but what it means for us. So it's not just, oh, I feel tired. And there are levels of burnout, but you can see it as emotional exhaustion, disconnection from people, your family, brain fog. That got me a lot. You could tell me something. It used to get on my husband's nerves. He would tell me something, and I would nod like I heard him, and then he would ask me about it 5 minutes later, and I could not remember the conversation that it ever even happened. So I had severe brain fog. But what does burnout feel like or look like for you? I want to hear from some people who have not spoken yet. Yes.
You mentioned it with brain fog, but the last year, my short-term memory has been non-existent. And I've always had a really, really strong memory.
Yeah. That memory one is hard. Yeah. You feel like you look back and it's like you can't remember the past year. Where did it go? The past week? Yes.
Short fuse.
Short fuse. Yes. unfortunately, the people who we care about the most get that short end of the stick. Yes?
My body feels very heavy.
Your body feels heavy.
Like, it feels physically heavy.
Wow. Wow. These are good. What else? What does burnout feel like or look like for you?
The sleep you get doesn't refill you.
That's right. That's right. I'm notorious for sleeping 12 hours and I'm still tired.
Yeah.
Yes. Apathy. These are good. Okay, anybody who did speak that wants to kind of share what it looks like and feels like for them before we go on? Yes.
Like sensory, longing for sensory deprivation. I want to sit in a dark room with my bed with nothing.
Yes. I feel that one heavy. I think I saw a hand over here maybe. Okay. So that is what burnout looks like and feels like for us. Now, I like to use this analogy when I think of some of the root, I guess, causes to me. Now, your perspective may be different, but to me, the root causes of burnout stem from two things. So we have this internal fire inside of us, and that's, what drives our passion and our purpose and, the motivation for why we get up and do what we do, right? This is why we were put on this earth, and we all have that internal fire. Now, when it comes to a fire, to keep a fire alive, what are some things that a fire needs to just, keep going, sustain itself? Whoa? Air, yes. What else? Fuel, yes. And what sort of things can you use to fuel a fire? Wood, gas, paper, A Doritos chip, trash, and preach. And so you need to constantly, but not, too much, but you need to constantly be fueling the fire. And if you deprive it of fuel or if you deprive it of oxygen, that fire is going to die. So when it comes to the things that are internal fire, right, the things that we're passionate about that give us purpose, if we're not feeding those things, right, routinely, a little here, giving it a little oxygen, maybe fanning a little bit, you're going to have a fire that starves and burns out, right? It dies. On the other hand, some of us, we're working in our passion, right? Our internal fire is lit. It's blazing. As a matter of fact, we're throwing wood, we're throwing paper, we're throwing gasoline, we're, blowing an oxygen tank on it, and that fire is burning out of control. And when you have a fire that you're feeding too much, too quickly, and it's going out of control, you have a wildfire, right? It spreads, and eventually, what's the only thing that you can do to a wildfire? Do you let it go? Just let it burn, baby. Is that what you do? What do we do with wildfires? We put it out, and there you burn out. So those two analogies are what I'm going to refer to when I go through my experience with burnout. All right, so we're back to meet burnout number 1. Now, in this picture, my daughter was like, like a year and a half at that time. And in my mind, I was still a new mom because I still don't know what I'm doing. Like, she's alive, she's 5 years old, like, praise God. But like, motherhood was a journey, okay? So I was going through motherhood. I was teaching full time, and I was running my business part-time, so that chocolate company. Now, I was passionate about my business, of course, and I was passionate about teaching, but I couldn't sustain those two passions. And before I move on, I want to give you guys a little bit of context. So I have the unique privilege of experiencing a phenomenon called intersectionality. Raise your hand if you've heard of that word before. No way. Okay, a couple years ago, it would have been like, who knows of that? But yes, intersectionality. So for those who don't know what intersectionality is, think of like the intersection of a road, right? If I'm at the intersection of Main Street and Market, yes, then like I'm on those two streets at the same time, right? So intersectionality is like the framework for looking at how things like gender, class, sexuality, et cetera, how like experiencing those multiple of those things, right? The intersection of those identities, how it can either like bring about some privilege or bring about some oppression. So I have the unique privilege, well, yeah, someone wouldn't say privilege, but I have the unique experience of, being a woman, so I'm a Black woman, and I'm also a first-generation immigrant. So with all of those identities that face systematic oppression, I'm always in a state of overcoming, like constantly. I mean, there are studies that show that like the stress that Black people feel constantly having to exist, like in a country like the U.S., causes like has effects on our health, right? In our death rate, in the infant mortality rate, in becoming a mom, and the maternal mortality rate, things like that. So I feel like I'm constantly having to like overcome. And because I'm constantly having to overcome, like it's built like an incredible ability to be resilient that gets praised a lot. But what people don't see is that I'm constantly burning out, but I can't stop. And I can't stop because stopping means that sometimes I'll have to face like imploding consequences, right? So because so much is riding on me making it, I gotta keep going. So as I was taking this picture, this was 2021, I was a teacher, full-time, I was running my business, and I'm not gonna lie, things were not going good, okay? It looks right now, but things were not good at that time. So business was, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're starting a business, there's a lot of inertia that you have to overcome. You feel that heavy. I had a business partner at that time who I brought into the business, gave equity, because she was working for no pay, so I gave equity, but then she decided to leave the business, which was fine, but when she left, she wanted to take more money than I thought was reasonable, and that would have crippled us, I'll just say it like that. So I was experiencing the loss of a business partner, and that honestly felt like I cried over that more than I cried over like my first boyfriend. Like it was absolutely crazy. So I was experiencing that. Our business bank account was often negative. Every 2 weeks, it's negative. Some weeks some months I was at the business incubator and I'm having to email, sorry, can I get an extension on rent this month? Because we can't pay our rent. I was not even paying myself at the time. And on top of that, I'm still teaching full time. Now I'm teaching in a high needs school, which means that there's a lot of needs, okay? It means that it's a Title I school, so a certain percentage of the students have to qualify for free and reduced lunch because of the poverty rates. And so I'm dealing with a lot of, under-resourced, underfunded, low pay, but high expectations. I mean, they're expecting miracles and not giving me anything. It was to the point where I was teaching a new subject at a new school, and they gave me a lab to manage with no training, guys. They did not train me to use laser printers, or there was like construction equipment. And they expected me to teach these kids, and they didn't teach me what I was doing. And there was no other teacher in the school who was teaching the same subject as me. And so I didn't have anybody to say, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, so I can collaborate and bounce off of their ideas. On top of that, some of the classes were computer-based, and there were times where we didn't have internet. How am I supposed to teach, guys? I don't have internet. There were times where the AC went out, the power went out. I mean, you name it, it happened. And so I'm experiencing the continuous act of pouring into this position, this job, with no support. I mean, I didn't even see my assistant principal, but like twice. When I got hired and right before I quit. Absolutely, and that is not normal. I also had double the work. So instead of having like 2 preps, which means like 2 different classes, which was standard, I had 4. So I'm teaching 4 different classes. 4 different classes, no books, no training, y'all see why I broke down? And I'm a new mom, and I'm going through postpartum depression. It is a miracle I made it. And I remember going through that experience, and I knew like teaching, I was like, I love it, but I gotta get out. They are draining the life force out of me. And so I started applying for jobs, and I kid you not, I put in over like 200 job applications. Mind you, master's degree, math degree for my undergrad, master's degree in curriculum and instruction. And I'm going into a field that is perfectly aligned. It's instructional design. All I do is create instructional material instead of for kids, for companies and grown-ups. That's it. couldn't find a job. Nobody would hire me after 200 applications. And so I began to internalize that rejection on top of everything else that I was going through. But remember, I got a lot riding on me. So I can't give up, right? You keep digging. That was me, right? I had to keep going until I hit a breakthrough. Now, right soon after I gave birth to my daughter, I was diagnosed with postpartum depression and anxiety. And I thought those symptoms were just gonna last for a little bit, but because I was experiencing such severe burnout and such severe stress, the symptoms of postpartum, I think they just honestly ended up merging with burnout, and they just went on for 2 years. And I remember, feeling like, I'm having this brain fog all the time. I'm exhausted. I'm emotionally exhausted. I'm physically exhausted. I'm sleeping. Somebody said, like, you're sleeping, but you can't, like, you don't feel rested. I felt that. I remember I would just come home from work and just be so overwhelmed. I had a short fuse with my family. I remember I would come home. I was breastfeeding at the time, and I would literally just lay on the floor. This is gonna sound really graphic, but just boobs out because I'm breastfeeding on demand. And so my daughter would come, she would feed, and then she would go play, feed and go play. And I'm just laying there crying, hours, until my husband would come home. He's exhausted, but he can't take care of him because he has to take care of me. So then he takes our baby, takes care of her so I can go to the bedroom, cry for a couple more hours, get my life together so I can put together a lesson plan, get ready for the next day, fall asleep at 3 a.m., wake up at 6, and do it all over again. Not sustainable. And it got to the point where I felt like the lack of purpose, the lack of the depression, the anxiety, the sadness, I didn't want, waking up wasn't a joy. It was just very dark and heavy, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. I did not want to do it anymore. But then I looked at my toddler, I looked at my husband, and I was like, what would life be like if my toddler had to grow up without a mom? And if my husband had to go through life without his wife? And it was that thought that kept me here. And I am so grateful because while, postpartum depression was caused by, the baby, at the end of the day, she was also my saving grace, and my husband was also my saving grace. So I'm going through all this, October 2021, you keep digging, until it came to the point where I couldn't dig anymore. And I remember the day I got to school, and it felt like just everything was happening. And I called my husband, I said, I quit. I can't walk into this building another day. It's either me or this job, and it's not gonna be this job, right? What was the line? I'm tired of this grandpa, that's too damn bad. I was like, ain't no damn way it's gonna be me. I quit. So I quit that day. I didn't even make it to fall break. I was so ashamed. I didn't even care, no matter. I quit. And and if you remember the analogy of the fire, right? I was working in my passions, but I was overfeeding it, right? I was doing too much, and everything just exploded. And the only way to put it out, the only way to stop, is to put out that fire, right? That burnout. And so that's what I did. That quitting was my first step of putting out that fire. It was necessary. And then I got my behind in therapy, free therapy, shout out to insurance. So I got in therapy, and it was my third attempt, but my therapist was using cognitive behavioral therapy, and I was finally responding to that like modality. And so the combination of those two things were what allowed me to put out my wildfire, and then slowly but surely build a new fire, a more sustainable fire, without overfeeding it, right? So that I wouldn't have to experience that burnout ever again. Because I don't know about you, but I never want to go through that again. I mean, that is the only reason why we only have one child, right? I never want to experience such an event again. So some of the things that my therapist and I started doing, some of the strategies that helped me, number one, name it. Now, I wasn't a journaler before. I didn't, really, I thought about things, I reflected, but I'm not gonna write it down, right? Because I think faster than I can write. But writing down and journaling my experience, even if it's just like what happened today, allowed me to start to see patterns. I started to recognize the way I was talking to myself, which I was shocked. I was like, you don't even talk to other people this way. This is how you talk to yourself? I started to recognize things that would trigger me so that I can remove myself from those places. And so journaling allowed me to name and put terms to some of the experiences that I was having. Now, I'm not a therapist, so I can't give you the specifics of what we did, but it helped. Number 2, I set boundaries. So I started protecting my time and energy fiercely. No is my favorite word. No, and I don't have the capacity. I don't even give an explanation anymore. I just say I don't have the capacity. If I don't feel like doing something and I feel like it's going to take away too much of what I need so that I cannot pour into what has a better return for me, I'm not doing it. I don't care what the pay is. I don't care what I'm potentially losing. Some things are just not worth it. So some of the things that I protect are family time. So there are times where my mom will call in the evening and I'll pick up, sorry, we're doing family time. I know she's my mom, but click, we're doing family time. That sounds so bad. We're doing family time because that's one of the things that fuels me. That's some of my sacred time that I'm not willing to give up. I got back into church and I started keeping the Sabbath, which was great because that allowed me to literally say, hey, I have a 24-hour boundary where don't talk to me about work other than asking me how it's going, right? I'm not gonna be physically at work. I'm not gonna do any markets. I'm not checking emails. My phone is on do not disturb and I'm fiercely protecting that time. Number 3, refilling my cup. And I put rest in bold because I love to rest. Now, resting isn't just physically sleeping, although I love to physically sleep, okay? I will take a nap at my desk. I will literally nap like this at my desk. And everybody knows don't disturb me because I'm resting. I will take a walk and I will go sit outside and lean outdoors and just lay there and take a quick little nap. I love to rest and recharge. The sun does wonders for my energy. So I will go and just bask in the sun. I guess they call it sunbathing, but I don't know. I do that too. I find joy daily. So for me, it's, oh my gosh, the fresh air, the sun is shining. Oh my gosh, I'm spending time with my daughter, my husband. Spending time with my employees. So my brother works for me and nothing makes me happier than cracking jokes and seeing him laugh because he's very stoic. So that's my joy that I'm finding daily. And I'm periodically taking extended time away to refuel. Now this is key. This is very, very key. I had a friend who recently came back from vacation, and the first thing she said is, I feel so energized. I have all these ideas running through my head. It's like I can't stop it. That's what happens when you take away, when you stop and you go away and you refuel. You get yourself in a different environment. You don't even have to travel. You don't have to travel to do this. I will take myself every Friday going to the common house. Before I had a membership, I'm using somebody's guest pass because somebody is gonna get me in there, right? What do you need to do to get away and refuel, and do it periodically? Put yourself on a schedule. The only way you are going to have the energy to be, I hate to use the word productive, but be productive in a way where you're not just it's just expending energy just for the sake of expending it, is if you're doing it wisely, and you need to rest in order to do that. And then redefine what success looks like for you. So let go of that hustle culture. What does a fulfilled life look like for you? This hit home when I went back to Ghana, and I realized that in Ghana, after the work day, we're done. Don't ask me to go work. You see people walking down the street, chit-chatting with their neighbors. Somebody's at somebody else's house eating a meal on somebody else's porch. People are walking down the street holding hands, arms around each other. Families are congregated together. And so you see them living that fulfilled, balanced life. And it's not all about work, 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 work. But I had to leave to physically see that. And now my mantra is rest is not a reward. Now, on the other side of being a recovering burnout, here are some of the incredible things that have happened now that I prioritize rest and refueling so that I can be the creative sales CEO, founder, the person that I need to be. And I created a list because it's so much that I kind of forgot. Number 1, our business blew up on TikTok after we got that Keithley review, and we made $25,000 in less than 24 hours. And that allowed me, now after I quit my full-time teaching job, I mean, I had to get another part-time job, you know what I'm saying? And it just so happened to be in teaching. But it was only for a year and a half, because as soon as I got that review, it was a Friday, by Monday, I had turned in my resignation because I was ready to go. So that Keithley review allowed me to retire. After that, our story was featured on CNN, Wall Street Journal, Business Insider, Yahoo, Essence Magazine, BET, Revolt TV, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We were featured on this year's Super Bowl commercial that TikTok did. It was like 0.25 seconds, but I was there, and it counts, and they paid me. So I was like, this is incredible. We also did EPB's commercial. If y'all have seen us on EPB, well, it's me. If y'all have seen me on EPB, we were recognized by the state of Tennessee for our impact in our community. We grew so fast, we had to move to a new location. Remember, I was at the incubator and I couldn't pay rent, right? It got to the point where the space I had couldn't contain us. So we moved to a new space, which was like almost quadruple the rent, but we haven't had a missed payment yet. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Our lights aren't shut off, you know what I'm saying? So we now have been in that space for 2 years, and we're already full. So we're looking for the next place to scale to. And because I'm not burnt out, and like I said, I'm prioritizing rest and refuel, I have enough creativity to drive our marketing efforts that end up converting into sales. So during peak season, it's not unusual for the videos that we post on TikTok to garner millions of views and for us to sell out in a few hours. And with all this growth, now we're getting ready to raise capital to scale. None of this would have been possible if I did not prioritize rest and commit myself to never burning out again. So I've created a little activity for you when you guys go home. And if you all want to go ahead and pull out your phones now, feel free to scan that. And that takes you through some of the reflective questions that I curated based on this talk, so that as you go and you leave this space, you're able to set some time away. And I encourage you to do this. Go through and answer these reflective questions about what burnout is looking like for you in this current moment, and what are some things that you can apply to get over that hump, even if it means, I'm not saying quit your job like I did, but maybe redirect the exact role that you're in within the company, whatever it looks like for you, okay? You don't do what I did. I really don't do what I did. And then look at the ways that you can start refueling and re-energizing, right? I do want to leave some time. How much time do I have? Where's somebody? How much time? Okay. I do want to leave time for questions, because as a former teacher, I mean, it never leaves me. But as a former teacher, I feel like questions are important. So what questions do you guys have over either this presentation, my experience, et cetera?
During those times when you felt like there was uncertainty, what I'm curious about is, when I would go through that in the past, I would get very harsh on myself about having missed it. Mismanaged this. I'm curious if you ever went through that and how you managed that, or if that was just kind of like, it's just part of the journey you're on.
Yeah.
You didn't judge yourself, but how did you know to navigate in the uncertainty where you were in relationship with them, so you weren't harsh on yourself? Or how did you recover from already having been harsh on yourself?
Yeah. I think I'll answer that question from the side of, like, how do I not be so harsh on myself? Because I am very, like, I'm my number one critic, right? But what I now do, instead of saying, like, oh, I messed up and I missed the mark and, like, I failed, and it sounds so cliche, but I'm learning that, like I would rather fail and fail fast and learn than to, like, fail slow and then be like, dang, how did I get here, right? Please let me fail, and let me fail fast. I would rather get through the no's so that I can get through the yeses. Like, those 200 rejections that I got, looking back, thank God. Thank God. Because if they had accepted me, I would not be doing what I'm doing now. I would have, like, let Cocoa Asante die, and I would have taken on that job full time. So if it's not necessarily I've mismanaged, but it's like what's the lesson that I'm supposed to learn is the first thing, and then it's like this is not failure, but like once again, like what's that lesson, and then where am I supposed to redirect or pivot? So looking through that lens, it helps me like be in a way grateful for failure, because I know that there's something that I'm taking away from this. But it's a hard change to make, but it starts from that like positive self-talk. Like earlier, I think it was her name Ashley. She was the one giving you guys those tools for a toolkit, and she was like saying, I thank myself. Like it really does sound silly, but that allows you to rewire your brain. You guys are gonna have to do a lot of intentional work to rewire the way you think and the way you talk to yourself. And then that allows you to then see things from a different lens. Very good question. Yes.
How did you overcome the pushback that you got from people when you started setting more strict boundaries?
Ooh, I love that. How did okay, so I don't care. It sounds so crazy. Oh my gosh. Okay. When it comes to work, I do care. Because I'm the type of person that I would like over explain. Like if I'm saying no and I'm turning down an opportunity, I'm like, I can't do this because I'm doing this, that, and the third, and this and the third, and I want them to feel, bad that I had to say no. But like I got to the point where it's like, that doesn't matter. Just like, don't waste your time and just say no. But personally to me, like I have seen what it's taken out of me to like not set those boundaries. And so I feel nothing but joy saying no, because I'm looking at, if I'm saying no to this, that means I'm saying yes to playing dress up with my daughter, or going to the park as a family and like seeing her try to swim and she knows she can't swim, like those sorts of things. So reframing that also helps as well. But that's a good question. Y'all are great. Any other questions? I love questions, by the way. I don't know if you noticed. Yes.
I want to offer maybe a quick reflection and have you respond to it.
Absolutely.
Yes. Great. So I have a friend, queer Asian guy who's lived out in Atlanta for 20 years in the Pacific Northwest, done a lot of conscious, like, disconnecting from capitalism, and he pontificates on Facebook about it a lot. He offered a reflection once about our obsession with fire, catalyzing and, like, catching your fire, and as it relates to burnout culture, I think about your second or third slide, he reframed it as we should focus more on, like, earth, or, like, ground, growth, like, nurturing and cultivating.
Yeah.
Because fire is meant to destroy, and it's like it exhausts the fuel source.
Yeah.
And that. So, just in the spirit of today, and
Yeah.
all the things you elaborated on, like, if even this framing about like
Yeah.
your fire and your passion and like letting it shine bright for the world is part of that reprogramming that maybe needs to be considered.
Yeah.
You want to tend to your garden or tend to your fire?
Yeah. Ooh, period. That's a great way to reframe. Tending to the garden versus tending to the fire. And I think that is honestly just personal, and how people want to see, or how people want to view their purpose on this earth, if that makes sense. Because yes, fire is destructive, absolutely, but it also renews, and it also like burns what needs to go, so you can start to grow something that needs to grow. So I think it just all depends, but I like the idea of tending to that garden because it also allows you to stop and slow down. As for me, I'm very like passionate. Okay, I get really excited and I talk fast and I'm da, 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 da. So to me, I love the analogy of like tending to like my fire, but I also love the analogy of the garden because slowing down and resting and cultivating that garden is important too. So I like that.
Quick reinforcement of that. Went to Volcanoes National Park in Hawaii last year.
Yes.
In fact, we have a national park dedicated to its own self-destruction. Like it just erupts on itself, and then we're like, oh, I guess terraforming's happening. Like it's new, it didn't exist before, and it looks terrible, but it's it's recreating itself. It's that fire as well.
I like that. Any other questions? Thank you for sharing. Okay. Was that?
Would it be fair to say that it's easier now to say no because you understand the cost of the yes?
Ooh, yes. Oh, nobody's taking me back there. Nobody. Like, Nobody. I told my husband, stay away from me. We're not having, unless I'm rich, not unless, because I will be, praise the Lord. But when we become rich and I can hire a nanny and a doula and a night nurse and all the support that I need that could have helped me not experience all that stress that I was going, until then, not even my husband will take me there. So I absolutely do say no because I understand the cost. Ooh, girl, that's beautiful. Well, thank you all so much for allowing me to come and speak to y'all.